I know you're all itching to get started on our first speaker of the day. You're probably bored of hearing me waffle on. So it's my very, very great pleasure to introduce our first keynote speaker, Liz Hardwick. As a digital productivity expert, Liz demystifies technology and shares how to harness digital to solve human problems. This morning, Liz is going to go and give us some simple and actionable tips to help us reclaim our time, energy, and focus. So can you please give a very warm welcome to Liz Hardwick.
Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, it's gone. Yes, please. Go. Brilliant. All right. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there we go. Hello. Let me just sort my slides out a sec. There we go. Okay. Still got an hour, right? Yeah, we good? Brilliant. Right, I'll start my timer. So, welcome everyone. I'm Liz. Hello. I do walk around the stage a lot, so I'm mic'd up so that I'm away from the main lectern. Can everyone see and hear me all right? I get excited, I get louder. Oh, hello. Ooh, I'm seeing lots of friendly faces in the audience. Thank you very much for the intro. Thank you very much for having me. I am a geek, but I'm absolutely about making it accessible for humans, and you heard that in the intro. So I'm going to share lots of stuff with you in this keynote this morning, and if you want to stay after the break for the implementation session, I'll be going through how we actually make that happen. But what I've tried to do is, if you do want to go and see Alison in the other session, I've got lots of QR codes for you to go through. So if you're quick enough and you snap the QR code as we go, if you do want to leave, then you're not missing out on other things you could do later. But if you want a bit of a helping hand, you're going to stay with me for the rest of the morning. So, digital productivity to reclaim your time, energy, and focus is where we're going with this session. I love us to start with a good quote. Productivity is never an accident. You'll all be aware of that already. It is always the result of a commitment to excellence, intelligent planning, and focused effort. We're all about utilising our time wisely. You're all about that already, but I'm going to help you along your digital journey. Some of you might already love digital, and that's great. I'm going to give you some of my top apps as we go today as well, but also some processes that you may or may not have heard of before, but have revolutionised my life. So this is going to be a bit interactive as we go, so you're going to have to say hello to the person next to you. So I'd love you to rate with finger digits or voices if you can, 1 to 10, how productive, not busy, have you been this week so far? 1 to 10, 10 being awesome. There's loads of people at the back saying 10s. Yeah, go on, show me some hands or share to the person next to you. 1 to 10, how are we? Oh, we're a 7. The team at the back are doing 10s, love it. Brilliant. All right, come back together. Lots of numbers. You can put your hands down now. We're all good. Thanks, Alison. She's chatting away there. Put your hands down. There we go. Brilliant. So, this is nice for me to see how productive you are already, but is also a really helpful reflective tool that you can check in at any point. But also, any of the stuff that I'm going to share with you today could equally be for you to help your clients as well. So it's a bit of a ripple effect. But brilliant, there's loads of people already on it, and you know, we're on Thursday and you're here for 2 days, so you know, you need to kind of get ahead of yourself, don't you? So, next question, how many, there's some giggles at the back already. How many things on your to-do list are still on your to-do list for this week? So do a similar, way loads more. Yeah, brilliant. So many I can't count. None. Get in. Oh, some super productive smashed it people at the mic. Brilliant. Well, if you have more than one, we're all good. We're organised. Absolutely. So again, that's another reflective tool. Like, how many things have you still got to do this week? But also, you know, we're on Thursday morning. If the number of things on that to-do list are too many already, you can start to review and think, is that still practicable? Can I still actually achieve that? And at any point in your week, you can review that, and again, a reflective tool to kind of go, is that still an option, or can I delegate somewhere else? So if we haven't met before, I'm noticing some clients, some friendly faces in the audience, and also some people we met over a drink last night, so welcome. Digital productivity is my topic. I have a digital training and productivity business, but I'm also giving you a few different hats today as well, because I do a lot of traveling. People are always surprised that I can travel with a teeny tiny bag, and I absolutely love minimalism. So some of the conversations I've had over coffee this morning, I get really excited about this because I'm like, I love a good declutter. I love getting rid of stuff. So hopefully my digital aspect of where I'm coming from today could be really helpful as well. But yeah, I feel like I'm among friends. It's great. I can get rid of stuff. So we're going to go through these icons today. So we're going to delve a little bit deeper into different sections. Time, energy, focus are the cute little icons at the start. And we're going to talk about AI and workflows, which I've been asked to include as part of that. Normally it's 2 keynotes, so I am going to go super speedy once we get going to cram things in. So I hope you'll appreciate I've tried to bespoke it for all of you today. Sustainability, I'm a paperless business by default, digital by default. Our sustainability, as much as we're only a tiny business, it's me and a business partner, so there's 2 of us, we don't have to have a CSR responsibility, but we're ethical traders by trade, and we also, we love trying to pair people up with other suppliers that are local to wherever they are. So, ethics and sustainability are kind of just part of what we do by default, really. So I love the theme of the conference to fit in. And digital, we use less paper, we use less stuff, So that's where we're going to go. So I'm using pictures. I love a good emoji. Right, so the QR codes are going to go fast, so if you're not going to stay with me, QR code it today. Some of you have already downloaded this. I get an email every time someone downloads something, and loads of you have been really productive already and downloaded all the things that were for the link at the end, so you might already have this on your device or have printed it out in paper. This is my wheel of productivity. You might have heard the wheel of life before. It's a really nice coaching focus. You might indeed use it with some of your clients already. I've souped it up to be digital productivity topics. So appreciate that. That's tiny writing. So we'll go through it a little bit. Now, if you're not going to stay with me later, you can do this dead quick now. If you've got a pen and paper and a notepad, I'm going to go speedy. So these topics, what I've asked you to do, the rating 1 to 10 thing, we would do for each segment of this wheel. So time management, you would rate yourself 1 to 10. How do you feel? Energy management. Focus management, work-life balance. I had some good conversations over a wine last night on that. Prioritising tasks and activities, routines and habits, managing digital files, folders and systems. I'm including photos in that because I know some of you help people, with the files and folders. Managing digital communications, so that's your inbox, your emails. Oh, I love having an empty inbox, it's great. So you would rate yourself 1 to 10 for those. In the implementation session, we're going to go through that in a lot more detail. So we're going to start off by talking about reclaiming your time. This is Lydia. Lydia is one of my clients. She came to me, she has a change management company, a team of 30 people that during the pandemic went from being an in-person, in an office scenario to completely online. They were remote, they'd maybe meet every so often. One of their struggles was being productive when there's other distractions around you. So that was either them at their computer and people throughout the day were sending them emails, sending them MS Team pings, sending them messages and WhatsApps, and or on the occasions when they were physically in the office, they were getting distracted because almost like being in real person was like, it's exciting. I don't get to see people every day of the week now. So one of their questions to me was, how do we reclaim that time? How do we refocus on what we're doing? And guess what? I've got a solution. So this is what we shared with them. Anyone heard of the Pomodoro process? I knew you would. Normally I ask conferences and it's just like dead silence. But I'm guessing you do like speed tidies, don't you? For 25-minute sprints. Yeah, I thought so. So if you haven't heard about it before, Pomodoro is the idea of focusing on one single task for 25 minutes. Could be as simple as setting a timer on your phone, or where the words come from, Pomodoro is Italian for tomato, the idea of a tomato kitchen timer from the 70s. Anyone remember that? Oh, all right, I'm not alone. Good. So the idea, 25 minutes, no distractions. So in digital land, that might be switching off the notifications on your phones or, internet, whatever, for example. Then, this is the important second step that a lot of people who think, I'm super busy, I've not got time to do the break, Liz. The 5-minute break is dead important too, because it enables us to step away from, for example, the computer screen or, the physical environment they're in, if I'm thinking your clients, if you've got a cluttered scenario. The 5 minutes enables you to step away, have a comfort break, make a coffee. For me, love a good coffee. So that's part of the stepping away, but having brain space, having that time to almost have a bit of creative thinking time, step away from the issue you might already have, and then come back to it. Now, the Pomodoro process created by Francis Cirillo in the 1980s, I think it was like 84, he then said repeat 4 times. And then if you've done a start time in the morning, then you would also think, right, I've got a break and it might be lunch. So it works quite nicely. Now, in Lydia's environment, that actually worked out really well because that solution enabled them to all work on their own stuff. They co-work together, either virtually or in person. They focused on their own thing. They had the break at their own time, at the same time. They were all able to chat to each other, catch up. Oh, I've got a question for you. Brilliant, okay. And then move on, set the timer and do it again. Their workload, focus, increased tenfold. And that was just the simplest idea of having the process. Now, I'm here today to talk about digital, so there's an app for that. There's an app, my very favourite app. Now, when I share technology with people, I don't go for the latest shiny thing. So this is actually quite an old app. Some of you might have used it before. It's recently changed its name. It used to be called Pomo Done app. The website still works, I checked it. But they've renamed recently to Round Pie. I don't really know why. I liked the Pomodoro. Anyway, so if you're going to join me for the implementation session after the break, we're going to run a Pomodoro session ×2 in the time we've got together. So you can not only have a practice at it, but see it in action as well. So that's an app that is beautiful. Yes, you can set the timer. Yes, you can just use a timer on your phone. This goes one step further because it integrates. Now, this is what I'll talk about a little bit later on, but it integrates with lots of other technologies, including, this is a beautiful one for me, including something like Google Calendar. It just says my task on those little boxes. You don't necessarily need to know what it says. It's tracking every time I've pressed go on my Pomodoro timer and it's finished, it's rang a bell at 25 minutes, it has recorded what I've done. So I can choose which activity I might be doing, and also I can have it link to my Google Calendar, for example. So I'm thinking for you and your clients, if you're wanting to track your hours, you're working with a particular client, this can be a really easy way of doing it in the Pomodoro method. Okay, brilliant. Hey, if you're not impressed with this. So this process, Rachel asked me earlier, how can I squeeze more stuff in my days? How can I get more time back? This Pomodoro method, yes, I work for myself. I've got the luxury of being able to choose my hours. But if I say I work a 5-day week, I've managed with Pomodoro process and the Pomodoro app to do my 5-day working weeks in 4 generally. So, having that real focus really does make a difference. And that's why anything I do at a conference or an event or training, I'll always mention Pomodoro process because some people haven't heard of it and it is a game changer. So also, I get the question sometimes, you might be working with people or have something like ADHD yourself or bipolar. I work with clients on a one-to-one basis around that. And what we find is just tweaking the duration of how long that 25 minutes is. So for some people, 10 minutes might be a struggle. The beauty of the Pomodoro app is you can just change the duration on the timer. It's great. Can you see this little 25-minute circle? You click that and you can choose whatever duration you want instead. So if it's 20 minutes, I work with some PAs and VAs. They like a 50-minute block of time and 10-minute break. So you can make it your own. That's the rule, and then you can go and break it and see what works for you. Okay, so I want you to, in 30 seconds, chat to your table. Which activities could take 1 Pomodoro of 25 minutes worth of time? 30 seconds, share with your table, go. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I know it's hard on to get...
I didn't want to distract you.
No, thank you. It's brilliant. And we're going back together. Hey. What can you do in 1 Pomodoro worth of time? Loud voices. Someone shout out some ideas for me. What would you do in 1 Pomodoro's worth of time? Social media. Brilliant. Anything else? Emails. Oh, yes, you're my tribe. 25 minutes, just a quick skim read, have a look over the emails. Is there anything I need to process? Decide what my plan of action might be for the day. You got an answer?
Things to do.
Things to do, task list. Yeah, absolutely. Plan your day. I have 25 minutes, because of the Pomodoro process, 30 minutes with a 5-minute break. At the start and end of every day, I do my planning, my to-do list, and my wrap for the day. What do I need to do tomorrow? Game changer. Beautiful. And that's not digital, is it, really? Okay, brilliant. We're going to move on to energy now, reclaiming your energy. So this is Sarah. Sarah's one of my membership clients. She went on a journey. She's a Pilates instructor. She is also a creative writing trainer, teacher, and also spoken word artist. And she was really struggling with her energy levels. She's a very high energy person. She's helping people with their fitness, mental well-being, with the Pilates side of things. But she was really struggling in terms of the energy focus. So, another solution. Who's heard of chronotypes? Okay, less than the Pomodoro. Okay, I'm good. I'm not teaching people something they already know. So chronotypes, you're one of 4 people. In the implementation session, we'll go through this in a little bit more detail. But you are one of 4. I'm a bear. I don't like getting up when it's dark. I'm a hibernating thing. I need 4 coffees before I get going. My optimal time is between 10 and 12. So actually, you've got me the perfect time of day. Best Liz. If you're not that, you might be a lion, early riser. You get your stuff done before everyone else has even started. Yes, that's you, isn't it? I love it. Yeah, we're not having a meeting at 7 o'clock in the morning. So you've got the lions. Traditionally, they would be the early birds, but there's a little bit more psychology between these ones. Wolf, you are an evening person. You might have been traditionally classed as a night owl. You have your creative ideas last thing at night. Oh, I'm going to write that. I'm going to type this email. Dolphins, you're 5% of the population. You are insomniacs. You are light sensitive, sound sensitive. You're always on. And you find everything sort of manageable, but there's no real structure or schedule. Someone's like, yes, that's me. Is that you? Yes. So you're one of 4 of those. We'll have a look later on which one you are. But Sarah was very much the early bird. She was the lion. And by understanding her best work, actually, she wanted to do a creative writing. She did that first thing in the morning. She's a single mum, so she has to sort of do the school run and things like that. She got up an hour earlier, did a morning routine, and gave herself time for creative writing. And that's changed the way that her energy levels are, but also the happiness that she has as well. You saw the quote before on the screen that's, actually it's made a real impact just by understanding better the way that you genetically are built. The system's created, you'll see the Power of When quiz. There's also a book called The Power of When. by Michael Breus. He's a doctor, he's a sleep psychologist, loads of other stuff. So there's lots of psychology to back it up. There's a massive book about that thick that goes through absolute minute detail of when is the best time to do stuff. So if it's something that's of interest to you, definitely go read the book. And then, as a sort of follow-up tip, bit digital, even though we might not be with chronotype so much, this is my, I've created a brand new digital calendar. So this happens to be Google, but it will work in anything. And appreciate, text is small, you don't need to read the writing, but it says, when is the best time for me as a bear to do things? So I can keep toggling that on and off. And before I start to arrange an appointment or book to do something, maybe you're like, oh, can I have a meeting at 7 o'clock in the morning? I'm like, no, because I'm waking up at 7 a.m. based on my bear schedule. So you can better understand when is the optimal time to do things. When is the non-decision making time. So bears don't decide anything between 1 and 3. Because if you've had lunch at 12 o'clock, you're in sleepy hibernate mode, not the best time to make a decision. So you can better understand that. And basically, this is what the book tells you for each different type of chronotype. Okay, so check that out if that's of interest to you, because it really then helps with those energy levels, because you're struggling less to do something because you've chosen to do that task at the most optimal time for you. You're not trying to do it at a suboptimal time. So for me, doing a really focused piece of work at 8 o'clock in the morning is not, I'm going to struggle. Yes, I can do it if I have to. But if I put that at 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, I will do it so much quicker as well. It becomes a time-saving thing as much as an energy. Okay, so next one. Another question for your table, 30 seconds. Which activities do you feel are not at the right time of day for you currently? Just based on, oh, there's some giggles there. 30 seconds around your table. What's not the most optimal? We're up. Oh, look at you. I love that. You're on time with table. 30 seconds. Oh, top table so far over here. All right, we'll come back together. Hey. I love it. You can tell you're all ready to have a good chat here. So, which activities do you feel are not at the right time of day for you? Shout me out some answers. Evening Zoom calls. Oh, we're all bored of them. Yeah, that was on that table as well. I think that's it. I think it was cool for a while during COVID when we were all trying to have human interaction, but now it's just a bit of like but that's when I have tea. Bears, it's the right time to be having tea. I don't want to be doing a Zoom call. Any other answers? School run. Oh, it's just slap bang in the middle of the day, an inconvenience, isn't it? Totally. Sometimes it's not possible to change it, but I guess over time it might change. One more answer from someone. Oh, okay, I'm going to go 2.
My husband coming home and sitting next to me at his desk, chewing in my ear.
Ooh, okay, yeah.
Concentrate, I've got to do it while he's out.
And that's it. And it's about having that environment that you're working around as well. Really great point. And then who else was there? Okay, go on. We'll have 2 more. Go on.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. Who shouted at the same time?
I just said work.
Work. Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Goes without saying, doesn't it, really? And then one more here.
Clients later in the afternoon because they're not hungry.
Yes. And you know what? That's great because you've acknowledged that actually afternoon clients aren't getting the best from me. So I'm thinking, when is the optimal? Well, actually, we would work better in this time slot. So suggesting, because sometimes we can be the issue of our own success sometimes, can't we? Because we can say, yeah, I'm free anytime. What works for you? No. Like, well, I have a 10 till 1 slot, or I have a 3 till 6 slot. And actually, I prefer to work in the evenings. How does that work for you? And some of you will do the Zoom call, so you'll be thinking, right, international clients, time zones, oh, that's a tough one to get right. What time am I in versus what time am I in Kuala Lumpur right now? We've got a client in KL at the moment, and it's just like, don't respond instantly because you might be worried that you're thinking, oh, just check the time zone first. Okay, brilliant. So next up, reclaiming your focus. So it kind of interweaves with the time and energy, but I wanted to try and separate them up for us. So this is Leah and Jojo. They work as administrators and executive assistants for NHS England. They're in the digital department. And they wanted to, again, focus on the focus bit of it. So for them, they have massive workloads. They have massive to-do lists. They have multiple inboxes because they're not only just supporting their inbox, they're supporting their executives, their support as well. So they're kind of doing admin for maybe 6 or 7 people at any one time. So for them, prioritising is really important. So I wanted to talk a little bit about focus today in the Eisenhower matrix. Who's heard of that before? Oh yeah, like where do we even start with decluttering something, right? So Eisenhower matrix, I love this one. It's high importance, low importance, high urgency, low urgency. So we have the ability to do certain things depending on what the task is. So that was one of the things that the Leah and Jojo wanted to really focus on because as teams, they had so many to-do lists. However, also, what's the difference between what's urgent for them and what's urgent from someone else who says it's urgent? Yeah, we got some nods there. So how do we manage that sometimes can be one of those issues. So if it's high importance, high urgency, we would generally do it first. High importance, low urgency, we would probably put it in a schedule, assign some time to it in a calendar. Low urgency, low importance, can we get rid of it? And or, actually, we might not be able to because let's face it, I know a lot of you are similar, you run your own businesses as well. Reflecting on it and thinking, is that something I say no to in future? Because we might have already committed, we might not be able to do anything about it now, but is that something we can say no to in future? Leah and Jojo, when it's actually not their responsibility, I'm really sorry, I've got an overflowing to-do list, I'm already at capacity, and that isn't something I can really help you with. However, try and find someone else who can. So, that kind of goes with anyone's workload as well. And then for completeness, high urgency, low importance. Is there anything we can delegate? Now, if you're the only one, who'd you delegate that to, eh? However, that might be, is that something you can put off? Is that something you can outsource? There's some other service providers you've got stores on today. Is that something actually you can buy in a service to better support you using that particular activity? And then there's a bit of tech to go with it. So there's an app. Now, I always try and find an app or a bit of technology that works across multiple platforms. Sadly, I've not been able to find a really good Eisenhower Matrix style app. So there's 2. So for the iOS people, you're looking at Do Matrix. And if you're an Android person, you're going for My Effectiveness. Now, I just think this is really nice because instead of using the pen and paper and drawing out 4 boxes, you've got a beautiful colour-coded box already. Who's into colour coding? I've got 36 personal calendars for different things and a colour code. There's a lot out of them. So I think actually the colour reference is really helpful as well. So rather than having to keep thinking high urgency, high importance, actually you can think what colour is that actually in this app? This is blue, but you can change the colours if you need to. Okie dokes. So next little question on your table. What tiny steps could you action to better prioritise your workload? I'm going to give you a minute for this. Any top tips to share around the table straight away? Go. I just overheard delegate then. What, sorry? Piece of paper. There you go, my love. No worries. Okay, wrapping up your conversations. Now we were talking about work clothes then. Do a little bit of a dance. Woo, hello, there we go. So I asked you a non-digital question there on purpose. Now I'm not sure whether you answered digital-based resources or non-digital in that scenario, but just reflecting on what that might be bringing up for you in terms of your workloads, some of the prioritising that you do on a daily basis, and a lot of this you might just take for granted. Yeah, so to reflect and spend some time thinking, what does that mean to me? I'm going to go on and I'm going to mention workloads in a little bit more detail. But that could equally be a follow-up question of, is there some digital resource that would help me speed that process up? Okay, so I've got some top tips for you along the way to get going. So we're halfway through this keynote. I wanted to spend the rest of the time, which would be an on request around AI. We like the idea of AI? Not sure, some yes, some no's. Okay, cool. Right, okay, brilliant. So I'm gonna talk about AI, but I'm also gonna talk about workflows. That's why I loaded that question before we started, because some of those conversations you've just had about workflows on your table, and now understanding an opportunity to reclaim time, energy, and focus using some of those processes you just mentioned. AI, when you hear the word AI, what do you think it means? Just shout out some words for me. Artificial intelligence. What? Okay, that's what it stands for. Well done. Sorry. What, when I say artificial intelligence, does that make you think of? Chatbots, ChatGPT. Anyone further than ChatGPT? Oh, right, okay. We're all doing names of apps. Okay. Oh, okay, brilliant. So some of you have already started to think, how might I use AI in the workflow that we just talked about? Beautiful, that's where we're going next. So I want to introduce you to Chris. Chris is one of my one-to-one coaching clients. He is a heavily striped ambulance paramedic senior officer for the Northwest Ambulance Service, if you could tell I'm from the Northwest. And he is a dolphin. So going back to the chronotypes, he's on a very, very random shift pattern. So if you can imagine, he organises people when there's a severe accident. He doesn't necessarily drive ambulances anymore. He's the one that you'll see at the side of the road organising everyone else. So he's a critical response person. So he found it hard. This is really like going down to basics. He goes out, he goes and saves people's lives, but he was getting really frustrated that everyone was using this really old Excel spreadsheet to do something. And they weren't talking to each other, and their workflows inside the NHS, you could probably guess they're a bit of a nightmare. But when they're out on the road, were even worse. Nothing was updating, nothing was connecting with each other. So we spent some time figuring out what might a workflow for his team look like. And part of that was an element of looking at the workflow, seeing if there's any AI or automation that could be added into that. So we had a look at the options that were available, and also because it's NHS, there were lots of lockdown computer systems. So we had quite limited options to work with in that scenario. But now there is an online Office 365 spreadsheet using Excel that has all the links that everyone needs to be able to update a critical response thing. So he's been the key implementation person in that, but it's also been part of that conversation of what is a workflow and where do we need to get to. So we're going to go and do that together this morning. So I wanted to explain what AI is, and AI, artificial intelligence, so well done for those of you who already knew that. I also wanted to explain the difference between these three. This is one of my favourite slides. This is not a graphic I've created, but I can't do it any better. So it is from ses.org.sg, if you do want to find it, the Singapore Computer Society. It's a mouthful. So the three areas, so artificial intelligence is the AI reference, developing smart systems and machines that can carry out tasks that typically require human intelligence. Now, we don't want to replace the humans with robots. I don't even think that's possible. I spoke at a conference yesterday with female trade union people, and that was one of the conversations is people are really worried that robots are going to take over. Now, if you don't include humans in the conversation of how we're using AI and robots, then you are going to have issues. But if you bring them along that journey, actually, that would mean that rather than being the person who clicks yes on a button because you've not automated it, that frees up that human to do better human interacting-based tasks, right? So you'll be human interacting all the time, but I think people forget that, you know, we're trying to help people with this. Now, I wanted to mention machine learning because the chat apps, the chat GPTs of the world only are clever if we teach it. It doesn't self-learn. We have to put the data in it. So the conference I was at yesterday, we talked about the ethics of almost bad data in or biased data in, biased data out. So we need to think about how we're going to machine learn and or just have an awareness of where the data's coming from. So if you are going to use AI, are you putting the information in and getting it to do something? Or are you relying on the information coming from elsewhere? So I don't really have an answer to that question right now. I think we're about 10 years away from how does that actually work. I do a lot of stuff with trade unions, and one of the things that we're talking about at the moment is how do we standardise what we're doing with it to make sure it is ethical for all? Because at the moment, it's a bit of a free-for-all. There's no real rules. I know in America, they're trying to look at how they'd standardise it, but at the moment, it's not possible. And then I'm not going to talk about it today, but just for completeness, deep learning is where we get the robots to start to think a bit more for themselves. So that we're a long way from that. That's sort of in Singapore, where you see those clever little robots moving around. Yeah, so that's part of it. We're very far away from that. So I've put the machine learning and robots down at the bottom here because we aren't going to talk about that today. Really don't have enough time. But I wanted to mention a few different types of AI. Some of you have actually mentioned it already, so beautiful. There's the automation element of it, which is, I think, the most useful for all of us in this room, where we do have elements of AI in it. It might be you're already using some sort of computer software that has AI inbuilt into it. If anyone's ever heard of Canva, it's I thought you might do. Beautiful, free, online graphical editing package with templates. Inside Canva, it has a thing, it calls it Magic, and it's an AI system that creates images using AI. So we're already using these systems, it's just we might not necessarily realise it's part of the systems we're using. Machine visioning, which captures and analyses visuals, that's kind of data processing and things, mainly for corporate audiences, really that. Now, I wanted to mention this NLP. So for those of you coaches, it's not NLP, what you're thinking. It stands for Natural Language Processing. That is the chat GPTs of the world, because it's trying to learn how to write a language in a human sense. So we're forever, and again, it's data in, data out. It's what we're teaching it. So that's natural language processing. We'll have a play about with, I'm not going to use ChatGPT, I'm going to use what I think is a better one to suggest to you for the implementation session. And generative as well. Oh, I've got some cool stuff for you later. We're going to create some images using AI. And I think one of the things to learn, and if you've dabbled in AI tools before, the key learning piece really is getting good at writing what they call prompts, what you're telling it to do. Yeah, so we'll have a little bit of a play about with that later on. There's text, there's image, there's audio generation. I ran a session earlier this week where we used a tool where Snoop Dogg was reading out some content for me. It was like, all right, okay, that's new. So if you're down with the kids, you might want to use that as a tool. So what are we looking at in terms of tools? So we've mentioned ChatGPT, but for fullness, I wanted to mention IBM Watson, which if you have IBM systems, if you're ever working with any sort of corporate size clients that are on lockdown systems, you'll probably come across IBM. And do you know what? I did this session like last week, and I had Bard as a logo. And someone was like, it's not Bard anymore, it's Gemini. Now, would you have known that? Gemini now Bard? Or some of you do, some of you don't. So I've left them both in. So it was Bard. About 3 months ago, they rechanged their name to Gemini. Now, that's the Google-based one. So if you work with anyone who's on a Google Suite system, so again, someone who pays for a Google workspace, you'll have Bard and Gemini included in it. So this is worth having a think about, especially if you're working with clients that are on computer systems and you might want to go for like file management and things, and I know some of you are doing photo stuff, then that might be worth having a look at because you can utilise it to, again, analyse and review and summarise certain things. This is the one that we're going to look at in the implementation session. It's called pi.talk, which means, I like this one because it means that you don't have to sign up for an account. It also doesn't take your data. So ChatGPT, free version. If you learn nothing else from this section, please don't ever put any trade secrets or personal details into anything like ChatGPT free, because we're teaching it to machine learn, right? Now, the whole idea of machine learning is we need to put the information in. The free version of ChatGPT, anything you put into it, it is then using to learn itself. So if you're wanting to use AI systems, say example ChatGPT. ChatGPT has 3 options. One of them, the highest package, is called Enterprise version. That is almost like a little sandbox that you play in on your own. You put your own data in and it doesn't go anywhere else. That was created off the back of people like KPMG turning around to ChatGPT and saying, we're never going to use this because we can't put any business data in it. So they actually created that off the back of that. Okay, cool. It's timed out on me. Unplug it, plug it back in again. There we go. Technology, eh? It's great. And so ChatGPT, yes, it is there. I would only ever use it if you were using the paid for version, if you're going to put any personal details in it, though. That's why I like Pi, because you can have a test, you can have a play, see what you come up with, and it's almost like its own little sandbox. Pros and cons of that, it doesn't save your history. If you've used anything before, you can't go back in time later on. Okay. Right, so I want to talk to you. Sorry, I've got a drippy nose. What can be automated? Now, everyone in this room will have different systems, different technology. Some of you might only, use digital for emails. Ask yourself the question, what could be automated? Now, in the implementation session, I'm going to give you a digital review tool. The link in your delegates packs will also go to it as well. So you can download it, take it home, take it back to your office. And I would suggest, I do this with my clients, every 3 to 6 months, ask yourself, what current systems, what current programs, apps, softwares are you currently using? And is there anything that you either go, there's a bottleneck there, it's taken me ages to do X, or I can't stand doing this every day. Like, is there something you go, oh, not again? Like, I'm going to click or send on it or say, you know, if it's the repetitive manual task, chances are there's some form of automation for it. Now, I'll mention a couple of scenarios to you. Integration is a phrase. In online softwares, you might have seen it either called integration or apps. That'll be when you're logged in and you go to your settings feature. Now, what does that mean? That means that tool software program number 1 links with tool software program number 2 interchangeably. Just works. You click a button. So this is a screenshot from my login of Todoist, which is a task management system. I just go, I want it to click link with Pomodon. Another reason why I love Pomodon. Click, and it will ask me for my username and login for that account, and then it will link the two together. That enables us to pass data between the both of them. So actually linking my Todoist app, which is my task manager, with my Pomodon timer and or, you know, round pie that they've named to recently, by integrating the two, I don't need to go to my task list to think, right, what am I doing now, Liz? Right, I'm going to pick that task from there. I can actually ignore that bit. I can go direct into my Pomodon app, choose my task that is automatically integrated and linked to my Pomodon. I can get my task. I choose my task that was originally just in Todoist. Inside there, choose task, press go. Then I say, yes, I've completed it. It ticks it off in my task list. Now, that might think, actually, like, it's only quick, that, Liz. But if you think about, that probably takes me, it saves me 10 seconds every time I do that. So maybe I have 10 tasks a day. You know, we're starting to add up those 10 seconds of time, start to add up and add up. If you think over a week, I'll probably save about an hour a week just by linking my to-do list with my Pomodon timer. And, you know, just by clicking that button and linking the two that one time, that integration, is saving me potentially an hour a week. So this is where we think, why am I using this digital, Liz? That is why, because that's starting to save you little increments of time that become a really large chunk of time if you add them all up. Okay, so think about what can be automated. If it doesn't neatly give you a little clicky icon, and go, my thing isn't there. So, my example, when I run events, I might use Eventbrite. I've got an email system called VBout. No one's ever heard of it. It doesn't link with anything. If it's not on my little clicky thing, I can use these two systems. If this, then that is what IFTTT stands for, or Zapier, or Zapier if you're American. They are third-party data processors. So they can help you add in the automation piece where it doesn't already exist as an integration. Does that make sense? Yeah, so we're basically telling it to put it into a language it understands, because it needs to be in a standardised language. Just like we're all talking English in this room now, so everyone understands there's a common language to speak in. If we were trying to translate at the same time, we'd miss some of that data. With the third-party systems, you can choose, so I'll go back to my Eventbrite versus my email system example. There's loads of ticketing data. I don't need that in my email system. I just need first name, last name, email, and I want them to connect to each other. So every time someone buys a ticket, the first name, last name, email address goes into my email system automatically. Imagine how much time that's saving every time you do something like that. Okay. I've mentioned inbuilt integrations, all of those, link with all of those, they're the things that I use. Go into your settings in your apps to do that. So, question for your table, 30 seconds on this. What simple or repetitive tasks would you like to automate? 30 seconds, go. Go list. Ooh. No. No. I'll just talk, it's easier. Nice idea though. Woo. Love it. Right, so I hope that's been helpful. It's also, I love being able to get people chatting to each other, because as much as I've got ideas, you'll all have your own ideas as well that you can share. So I've made a little list. I thought about what we might want to be doing, automated. So I work with a client that's a coffee shop in my local area, and they wanted to recently automate a new system where they wanted to send a voucher on someone's birthday for a slice of cake to say thank you very much for being a customer, but also, you know, bringing them into the shop to have the cake. I mean, you're not going to have a cake without a coffee, are you? Let's face it. So it becomes a way of getting them through the door. So they wanted to automate a birthday email system. So we were able to think about what are the steps in that process and what are the data we need to collect. Well, for that piece of the conversation, an actual birth date is helpful, isn't it? Because if we don't have that bit of information, how do we know when to send them an email? So it might be you want to automate emails, you want to automate certain tasks. I just mentioned that when I tick things off in this place, they get ticked off in there. So how do we want to automate certain things? The if this then that tool, it's talking about the logic. So sometimes I find this really helpful, as much as I'm digital, get a pen and piece of paper out and draw it. What is the steps that I need and what are the pieces of data? And, you know, GDPR-wise, everyone gets scared about, but, you know, what I would always say is only use the minimal bits of data that you need. So that example of Eventbrite then, there was loads of ticketing info. There was like 30 columns of an Excel spreadsheet of ticket data that I did not need. So it's what actual data do you need that's helpful for you, and get rid of the rest, or just choose not to move it across. Social media, someone mentioned social media scheduling. There's also a sentiment analysis tool that's out there as well. So you can better understand what people are saying about you, about your business, about the topics. Social-searcher.com is the tool that I use. It's free, you don't have to sign up for anything. You pop in your word and it gives sentiment analysis on social media. Natural language processing tools, e.g. ChatGPT and Pi we'll look at later. To craft blog content, someone mentioned it before, content for socials. Here's a load of blog stuff that I've already created. Give me 5 different social media posts and rewrite it for me. So there's a lot to do with how you get that prompt right, what you're asking it to do is the important bit. We'll have a look at that later. Promotional literature, you know, lots of content that you could create out there. Now, I mentioned YouTube automatically generating subtitles. This isn't a new thing. That's been around for about 10 years. Do you want subtitles automatically done on this thing? When you upload a video to YouTube, you can say, yes, it automatically does it. Now, it isn't accurate. If you've got an accent, it's a bit hit or miss. But it's explaining the AI, you know, the tools have been in it. I did a session the other day and someone said, oh, I'm using it for eBay. eBay's been around 20 years. eBay's got a little AI feature inside it that automatically suggests the title and the blurb for your product listing. Beautiful. Yeah, it's like, oh, I can put my keywords in and it'll just craft something for me. So we're looking at stuff that platforms have been around for a very long time that are getting on with the program. International language translations. I'm playing around with Zoom. So I work with a lot of international clients as well. We're all different languages on the call. English is the default we go to, but having AI translated subtitles in up to 99 different languages. So you know, again, it's a bit hit or miss at the moment. But you know, it's better to be able to offer something like that than not have any option at all. So lots of new things coming out soon around that. And then text to video, audio, image conversions. We'll have a look at those a little bit later on. So let's delve a little bit deeper into workflows now then. So now we've got a bit of a concept of what tools might be out there, what AI might be included in some of those tools. We can look at your workflows. Okay. This is a bit embarrassing, right? I know there's lots of icons on the screen, I'll explain. The old process is me, 4 years ago, using 3 different tools, triplicating data just because it had become the habit. I'll explain. Todoist, love Todoist. That's my default task list. Everything goes in there, otherwise it doesn't happen. Excel spreadsheet. I would have a team meeting, me and my business partner, every Monday. We decide what we're going to do for the week. We set our sort of plan, if you will, put it in an Excel spreadsheet, and we email it, a real Excel spreadsheet file, we email it to our business advisor guy who likes to oversee what we're doing, and he helps and guides us. We've had him around 20 years, so he kind of keeps us on the straight and narrow. And because I was like, I don't quite know where to start, I then started using Notepad++, which is like a souped up version of a notepad on a computer. Because I ended up just writing the notes and then like, right, I'll figure out the tasks later. So I was putting the same bits of data in 3 times. Even me, using digital technology, you think, surely there's a better way I can be doing that. Now that is the absolute example. I got to the point and I said to myself, there must be a quicker way to do this. And there was. And if you ever have that in your head, that's the key where there's probably a better workflow. So now, Asana, all of the tools are available, it's a digital project management software. And, you know, it's free. Last year, I tried the trial version, the pay-for bit, realised I didn't need it, went back to the free. It's not all about paying sometimes. So Asana is a project management tool. John, our business guy, now has access to look at it, so I don't have to put it into Excel spreadsheet, download it, email it, you know, so 1990s. But also, Asana enabled me to have those integrations, all of those things that it links with automatically. So I was able to automate loads of different things. Yes, I could spit it out in an Excel spreadsheet if I really needed to. I can put loads of dates and things. Every time I create a task and I put a time and a date on it, I can get it to automatically appear in my calendar. Oh, brilliant. Slack, if you're using Slack to chat to other people on Teams, you can link it with that. It can send you an email, remind you to do such and such. This is the deadline coming up. Here's the info. Brilliant. Todoist, task list, and this that saves me at least an hour a week. If I have a task in Asana that says set a meeting for it inside Zoom, I have one little button that says make this a Zoom meeting. So I don't have to, sorry, I know the bottom screen, Zoom basically. So rather than having to go out of my Asana, go into Zoom, log in, create new meeting, do that, click, 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 grab the link and then stick it in Asana. Because of that integration, I press one button, make this a Zoom meeting, and all of the information is populated. Life-changing, yes! Can you put that in your evaluation form, stick that on social media, that'd be great, thank you. So if you haven't had that life-changing epiphany and you're thinking, but what about me, Liz? I'll try. We'll have a look in the implementation session if you've got any specific questions on anything. But I wanted to just show you this. Now, this is one of my other businesses is a leads and marketing CRM system. All are other available, but this is where I can get screenshots from, so bear with me. This, now, appreciate text is small, ignore the text, but the buttons and the boxes and the arrows are important. What is, the word at the top says trigger. What is the trigger? Now, this is where the if this, then that comes in. If something happens, then what? That's your important bit of techie info. You're going to have to feed your system that is worth figuring out. And it doesn't matter what tool it is to some extent, because if you can figure out your workflow and your steps first, that will almost answer the what is the tech question for you. And if you ever get stuck, find me on socials, I can answer that question. So if these things happen, then this happens, then I might have an A or B. If they are already a client, they might go through a system here. If they're not yet a client, they might go through here. So that enables us to set up, so this is the back end of the CRM. So I mentioned before the cake lady, cake coffee shop, how do we send them an email? If their birthday is 10 days before, send them an email, template, put this information in. So it's what it's triggering is it's looking for a date, and then I'm sending a pre-arranged email. So, you know, that's just one simple workflow of a step-by-step, but think about what that means to you. So, 30 seconds around your table. What multi-step process would you love to automate? E.g., putting Zoom meetings together. 30 seconds on your table. Okay, everyone, come back together. Da-da-da. This is definitely a conversation that you can carry on after the break, but we are at time. Grab the QR. I know, sorry, the QR code's right at the bottom. Fabulous. So if you are interested, if you like this session, then please do stay for the implementation session, which will be after the break. I have a membership, I have a webinar program. If you are interested, there's a QR code there, £99 for the year, and I will give you a discount if you come join us for the implementation session. Thank you very much for having me, and I think I'll pass back to someone now to just talk about breaks and contingencies. There we go, thank you.